Hello, my name is Dr. Brian Raid, and I'm a naturopathic doctor, and this is a video about the importance of glutathione for brain health and function. Just in case you're watching this video on YouTube, if there was an ad playing prior to this video, I just want to make note that I don't receive any financial compensation from YouTube for them running ads on these videos, nor do they check with me about the content of those ads before putting them on prior to my videos. Just wanted to clear that up. So there was a question on one of my other posts I posted recently about the difference between NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, and glutathione in terms of how those can function differently in the body. And so the question was around, well, just really more of a request than a question, for me to put out a video that talks about how glutathione is helpful for the nervous system, for neurological function. So the simplest way to just had a knock on my door, so forgive the awkward pause in the middle of the video here. So the easiest way to think about how glutathione is helpful for the central nervous system is through the lens of the mitochondria. If you've watched really any of my videos in the past, probably not surprising to hear me talk about the mitochondria. In case this is the first time you're hearing about the mitochondria since high school biology class, mitochondria are these little structures inside of our cells. Every cell has thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of mitochondria per cell. They make all the energy for the cells. And in our brains, energy is particularly important because at rest, our brains consume approximately 25% of all of the energy in our bodies. So that's because the brain is important. It really runs the show. And I mean, some of us use our brains probably more than others, depending on the people that you know. Just kidding. But the long and short of it is our brains need a lot of energy. And because they need so much energy, they're really, really dependent on those mitochondria humming along and working really well. When the mitochondria don't have optimal amounts of energy, then guess what happens? The cells that they inhabit, so yeah, when the mitochondria are not able to make optimal amounts of energy, what happens is the cells that they inhabit, they don't work as well. And if that happens to be a neuron in the brain, and that's happening to multiple neurons all at once, then patients are initially going to say things like, my brain's not working quite as well as it used to. I'm feeling a bit foggy. I'm having a little bit of a harder time remembering things. I'm getting disorganized more easily. I'm losing focus more easily. So all those really important cognitive functions, all those important brain functions are heavily dependent on having enough energy. If that energy depletion in the brain goes further beyond that point, then the patient might start saying like, wow, like my memory is actually becoming a problem, or maybe I'm not sleeping as well because I can't regulate the production of different antioxidants and melatonin and things like that that are really important to help promote optimal sleep. I'm not able to make as much serotonin to help promote optimal sleep. I'm feeling more anxious and wound up because I can't make enough GABA for my for my nervous system to feel more relaxed, etc. And then over time, reduced mitochondrial function is something that has been associated with the development of autoimmune conditions. So perhaps could trigger something like MS in some patients. Reduced nervous system function ultimately creates more inflammation and even further impairment of memory and things like that, and might start manifesting as something like Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia. So the reason I'm spending all this time talking about the mitochondria, aside from the fact that they are my very favorite organelles, in the context of talking about glutathione in the brain, is because one of the things that the mitochondria really, really, really need is a good steady supply of antioxidants, and glutathione is one of the strongest antioxidants in the human body. Many folks would say it's the strongest antioxidant in the human body. It's really, really important in the brain, because when the mitochondria are making energy, they're like little combustion engines, and just like a regular combustion engine, there's some exhaust that's given off, and that exhaust is not very healthy. And so if the exhaust is not being neutralized by adequate amounts of antioxidants, then those mitochondria are going to start getting damaged. Some of the healthy fats that make up the mitochondrial membranes are going to start getting damaged. Some of the important enzymes inside of the mitochondria, or if the free radicals from inside the mitochondria start leaking outside of the mitochondria into the cytoplasms, like the fluid inside of the cell, it could start damaging things in other parts of the cell as well. So it's a really, really big problem if there's inadequate levels of antioxidants in the nervous system, because, and really in any cell, but particularly in the nervous system, because those brains of ours are just so darn good at consuming energy. They're really dependent on having a steady supply of it. So while glutathione is important for other peripheral functions that certainly have an impact on brain health, not the least of which would be making sure you have good detoxification function in the liver, where glutathione is also very important for phase 2 detoxification reactions, and if those toxins start to build up, they can backlog into the brain and cause different problems, whether it's heavy metals, mold mycotoxins, what have you. The glutathione, just really simplistically speaking, sorry, I've been speaking all day after an 8.5 hour day at work. Get a little mush mouth sometimes. The glutathione is really important to keep those mitochondria happy, and so therefore it's going to keep the neurons happy, firing properly, and that's going to be really important for proper neurological function. Inadequate antioxidant function leads to, or inadequate antioxidant levels will lead to cellular dysfunction. Cells are going to die more easily. There's going to be more subsequent inflammation. That's going to ultimately create more damage, unfortunately more free radicals in the brain, and so that's the disadvantage of having lower glutathione is going to be even more pronounced, because as more essentially damage is occurring because of inflammation, then there's going to be even more free radical production. So then even more, those antioxidants are going to get used up even more, and then just the problems are just going to compound each other. So I think that's one of the reasons why in clinical practice, when patients benefit from taking things like supplemental glutathione at appropriate dosages in an appropriate form, or other antioxidants like, say, mixed tocopherol, mixed tocotrienol, vitamin E supplements, or sometimes vitamin C, or we work with something called methylene blue, which is this really strong synthetic antioxidant, or various other things that have antioxidant properties to them, then I think one of the reasons that we see that patients who need a lot of neurological support can take really robust dosages of those things, sometimes for long periods of time before we see the full clinical benefit, or if we're doing lab testing to assess their antioxidant status, then it can take a while for those levels to actually go up and really look replenished. So I think that a lot of folks out there are walking around with significant antioxidant depletion in their nervous systems if they're suffering from certain neurological conditions. This, of course, is just for informational purposes only. I'm not giving any medical advice or diagnosing anybody or suggesting that anybody has antioxidant deficiency that I haven't, I'm not consulting with in practice. But from my own experience working with many patients in clinical practice, many of whom have neurological challenges, glutathione and other antioxidants can be really important. So to summarize the whole video and just a one-liner, glutathione is important for neurological function because of the mitochondria, because it's all about the mitochondria. If I was ever to get a tattoo, I think that's what I would get, just right across my chest. It's all about the mitochondria. I hope that this answered your question. Thank you for asking questions on my videos. They're always good questions this particular person asks, so I appreciate that. If anybody has any other questions about this topic or anything else, don't hesitate to post them in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I'm able to.